Hola, welcome to this edition of DURKO's Notebook for the Brazilian Grand Prix. We had a huge weekend of racing action ahead of us. We've got a lot to talk about, so pull up a pew, sit back, relax and enjoy the show.
You wouldn't fucking read about it.
As a long-term die-hard F1 fan, there's only one word for me that sums up why F1 should remain going to dedicated circuits and not rubbish street circuits. That word is Interlagos, Portuguese for inside the lakes. The Autodromo José Carlos Pass, at 4.3 kilometres long with 15 turns, it's one of the most historic circuits, and F1's been going there for 50 years to the residential area of Sao Paulo, the Brazilian city. And it's just an epic circuit that's always turned on a good event for us. Sometimes we get a bit of a snooze fest in the middle, as we saw earlier today, but there's parts of the race that just come alive and really remind us why it is such a great circuit, and we see such great racing there. So the first incident I want to talk about, obviously, was some clown at Ferrari decided they were going to send Leclerc out on inters because it might rain, yet the circuit was still dry. So everyone else went out on softs, but Leclerc went on inters. And then when they made the decision to bring him back in to change the inters to softs, he'd already gone past the pit entry. Anyway, the next thing that happened during quali was obviously in Q3. And I think it's somewhere where George Russell should have remained, or should have been given the penalty of the position of P10 for Q3. Because obviously he went off at turn one, bagged the car up and stuck it in the kitty litter, which caused a red flag. Now, if you bring about a red flag during quali, you should go to the back of that allocated grid position for Q1, 2 or 3, whatever you're in at that time. And I just don't agree with George keeping his position for that exact fact. Now, the sprint race, there was some discussion around the formation lap and a lot of errors with drivers in their positions within the grid boxes. And Gasly was set to cop another penalty for that, which was, I think, too much, too harsh, just uncalled for. I think Gasly's got some sort of a target on his back with the FIA, and they love giving him penalties. Now, one thing I want to say about the sprint race is if they're going to do 24 laps around Interlagos, to make it more exciting, to make it a race of attrition, a sprint race of attrition, I should say, where the drivers drive the paint off the car and just drive them till they detonate, get rid of DRS for the whole sprint. Save DRS for the main race when it becomes a tactical advantage for them. Having no DRS in the sprint race means that the drivers have actually got to just drive the shit out of the car to try and beat the bloke in front of them. And it creates more of a challenge, and we saw that because as soon as the DRS was activated, okay, righto, off he goes straight past him. But if you had two drivers fighting neck and neck with each other going into the centre curves, I think it would be just so much better if they didn't have that DRS advantage. They had to just use natural aero advantage. You might disagree with me and say, you look, DRS is great in the sprint race. Feel free to argue with me, but that's just my thoughts on it. Now, also during the sprint race, we were witness to one of the most stupid and idiotic dickhead moves I think I've ever seen, other than when he did it in the USA, and that was Lance Stroll again. So, to me, Lance Stroll, I must congratulate him because he got the Clown Award again from me. The move he did on Vettel to pull in front of him alongside him and literally push him into the grass verge into the wall. If I was Mike Crack, the team boss, I'd be saying, right, you're out. You're not going to the Grand Prix this weekend. We're going to put Drogovic in because he's Brazilian and he's now got his super licence. We'll give him a run in the car to see what he can do better than you. Because it was just idiotic. And again, Lance goes, I'm not at fault. Well, yeah, you are. You just got to start accepting it that you just drive like a clown. You're an idiot. Can't wait for that bloke to finish F1 his career. But, Dad owns a team, so that's not going to happen. Obviously, yeah, the penalty he got, 10 seconds, but really in 3 penalty points, not enough. Somebody's got to sit down and give this bloke a race ban to just remind him that he's inevitable. He's just going to end up doing some serious damage to a car and or a driver. Anyway, I thought he'd learned from the US matter, but clearly he hasn't. Now, Alonso and Ocon, they're pretty much cancelled inviting each other to their homes respectively for Christmas drinks because they've had to come together, and Otmar had to sit them down and say, righto children, you need to behave. I don't know what goes through Nando's head. Maybe Ocon's thinking he's got the advantage of Nando. Maybe Ocon's too big for his boots. I just don't think there's any great friendship between those two, as neither between Chico and Max, but I'll explain that later. Now, Ricciardo's move in the race in taking K-Mag out, that was just a completely amateurish move, and I just don't know what went through Danny Rick's head. You know, at Mexico we saw this stellar drive from him to absolutely own that car. Then he turns up to Brazil, he flicks the switch and he's gone to sleep. Bang, straight to the back of K-Mag. And you think to yourself, what are you doing? Why? You know, you're trying to retain some sort of a foot in the door with an F1 team and you go and pull this shit. I don't know, Danny. You're not doing yourself any favours, mate. Now, obviously, during the course of the race, Max managed to get in front of Chico. Now, that was following, obviously, Max's coming together with Lewis. I looked at it from a couple of angles. Was it a racing incident? Did Lewis fail to give Max enough room? Was Max going for a piece of real estate that didn't exist? That's the way the stewards saw it. Gave him a 5-second time penalty. I sort of urge more towards, was it enough of a penalty, him having to go around with a broken nose to get a new nose fitted, which put him way down the grid positions or the placings in the order at that stage? Was that enough of a penalty? I originally thought Lewis was at fault for not giving him enough space, but you know, I was explained. I was educated in the ways by other learned friends in the discussion to say, no, this is what's occurred. We watched the video. You watch it from any number of angles, and you can see it probably was Max's fault, but I just sort of err towards a racing incident only because he's time penalty for getting his nose fixed. And we move on. Obviously, Max got in front of Chico, and the understanding is that now Chico and Leclerc are equal on drivers' points, going for second position with only one race to go next weekend in Abu Dhabi. Now, Max's engineer got on the horn and said, you need to pull over, give Chico back the position so he can get the most points to stay ahead of Charles. Max has just gone, no, not interested, it's not going to happen because of an incident that I became aware of, that I didn't where Chico had actually gone public with this and admitted deliberate fault, was when he was at Monaco and parked his car in the wall at Portier just before the tunnel. Now, that was during qualifying for Monaco. Obviously, Chico kept third place, Max kept fourth. Max had the shits over all of that, and has never forgiven Chico for apparently making it a deliberate move to park the car into the wall. Now, we can go back and say, you know, is this Singapore Gator again all over again? Is this another case of what Michael Schumacher did at Tabac? Is this whatever? I mean, I don't think any limelight has ever been put on the position or situation that Chico had parked the car. I thought it was just a genuine accident when he parked the car into the wall at Portier. But clearly Max hasn't got over it and may need to build a bridge, because what he's done publicly over the radio to his fans, I mean, I'm no fan of Max. The bloke can drive, sure, but there's other drivers I prefer to watch. But what Max has done, he's damaged himself in what he said to his engineer. He's damaged the Red Bull team name by being so public about it, and he's also damaged his reputation with any other teammates he's going to potentially have in the future once Chico goes. So I think, in fairness, he should have given the position back to Chico. Max had nothing to gain from it. He's already won the championship. But in fairness, you've got to work for the team. The team's not just about you. And Max, you can be replaced in a team, as we've seen other drivers get replaced before. But that's just my thoughts on that, and I think it would have been only fair for him to pull aside and let Chico through to gain the maximum amount of points he could have. So that's my thoughts on it. If you've got any feedback, please make a comment or write to me somehow, and just give me your thoughts on what I've said. But that's my wrap-up of the 2022 Brazilian Grand Prix, and I'll be back at the end of next week. I've got a bit of a slight delay in recording the Abu Dhabi notebook because I'm away with work, but I'll get to it as soon as I get home. And until then, I thank you for watching and take care. Until then, bye-bye.